Hello and welcome to my first review of Season 5. Now, if you can't tell from the title, I was not a fan of Tanks for the Memories. Now, fair warning, I haven't had any sleep in over 24 hours, so this might end up being an incoherent rant more than a coherent rant. Just want to give you a fair warning that my opinion may be slightly swayed by my minor case of sleep deprivation. I think I'm fine, but when doesn't someone say that? So with that caveat, let's get into the episode. The episode starts with Rainbow all excited because winter is coming. On the surface, that seems fine, except for the fact it's about to turn into May. That would make sense if we were in the southern hemisphere. However, given that most of the show's audience lives in the northern hemisphere, that seems kind of odd, and it would have worked had the season started in, say, September or October, but it didn't. So right now we have the winter starting in late April, early May, where pretty much no one would say that is when winter is starting. Ending, perhaps. Starting, less so. Okay, this is a weird beginning right off the bat. While there are explanations, maybe there are really long summers, and it's just been summer since the last winter wrap-up. Traditionally, our world has been the basis of comparison, so it doesn't feel right, but it's a possibility. But then we also hear that this is going to be her first winter with Tank. Okay, I'll freely admit, there has been a lot of discussion as to how long the show has lasted, how long Twilight has been in Ponyville. Answers ranging from 1 year to 8+ years. It's all backed by stuff in the show, so it's really hard to say exactly when. I will say, though, 1 year seems awfully low. 1 year just doesn't feel right. It doesn't pass the smell test. So the episode's off to a questionable start. Rainbow then discovers that Tank is a tortoise who hibernates in the winter, and is upset about this. At first doesn't believe it, questions Fluttershy even though she's kind of the end-all and be-all of knowledge about animals, and then has an admittedly good scene with Spike. She's eventually forced to concede that yes, Tank is going to hibernate, and so decides that the only way to keep him from hibernating is to be the Grinch and stop Christmas. I mean, winter. Okay, I know Rainbow's kind of arrogant, I know she's kind of brash, but I didn't think she was this selfish. I mean, this is really selfish. I don't want winter to come, so I'm going to stop it from coming for anyone else. Kind of a, questionable move there, Rainbow. We discover that Cloudsdale comes to the places it's going to be delivering winter, which is interesting, and also it suggests that then winter can affect different parts of Equestria at different times, which is bizarre, but once again interesting. So then she proceeds to do her utmost to stop winter, and she's actually pretty successful at stopping the first wave of winter. However, when the second wave comes, she realizes that she can't stop it all and has to take it out at its source. Okay, I have a slight minor issue with this. Last I had heard, Rainbow worked for lack of a better term, the weather company. She was a weather pony. She tried to maintain and control the weather. That was one of her jobs. In fact, she was a leader of that in the community. This is even suggested during her song with her giving orders to the ponies. She is actively working against what her employer is trying to achieve. She is actively trying to subvert it. Rainbow should be fired for this. I cannot stress this point enough. Rainbow is totally 100% out of bound. We've known from earlier episodes she can be kind of lazy. It's one thing, though, to be lazy on the job. It's another to actively work to subvert your employer. That is just a huge no-no. I mean, if this was the military and she was actively working to subvert her employer, that would be considered treason. She is just way, way, way out of line here. She should be fired. In addition to this, we see her giving orders to the ponies to divert the stream of snow, which is an abuse of her power. Once again, reasonable grounds for termination. So Rainbow really just stuck her hoof in it. But this isn't enough for her. She needs to go and stop the weather at its source. So she goes to the weather factory, and we hear a tune while she's sneaking in to this lightly guarded facility. that is eerily reminiscent to a slightly distorted Rainbow Factory, which parenthetically is not a plus in my book, and finds the winter equipment and destroys it. Now, she ends up destroying more than she intended to, but the bigger point here is she broke into a facility in order to destroy it, to deliberately sabotage it. At the end of the day, Rainbow damaged and or destroyed millions, if not tens of millions of dollars worth of equipment. This goes beyond her being fired. Rainbow should be arrested for this. She should be thrown in jail. This is a crime. If this happened in real life, the person who did it could expect civil and criminal charges against them. This is big, especially since presumably weather is controlled by the equestrian government. She is destroying millions of dollars worth of government equipment. Generally, governments don't take too kindly to that. She is in deep horse manure. But she does it. She gets thrown back to Ponyville and accidentally brings Winter with her. Just covers Ponyville in a thick layer of snow. Finally, Rainbow has realized she cannot stop Winter, and has a big mope and then cry about it. Now, the cry scene is supposed to be funny. I thought it was really over the top. The characters seemed, kind of out of character, and it just seemed overplayed, but your mileage may vary. And so Rainbow has a big long cry about it and eventually realizes that with her friend she'll get through it and sees Tank off. And that's pretty much the episode. I'll give it credit. I thought the scene with Spike was pretty good, and I really like that they built up Rainbow's character and did some character development of her and her relationship with Tank. We hadn't really seen that relationship before, and it was nice to see that she really cared about Tank. I give it a plus for that. But everything surrounding that was bad. Obviously, the single biggest issue with the episode is the way Rainbow acted. She may be arrogant, she may be brash, she may be egotistical, but in prior episodes that had seemed to cover a lack of confidence. Here, it wasn't lack of confidence, she was just being a straight-up dick. I don't want Tank to hibernate, so I will prevent anyone else from getting Winter. It's totally immature. Instead of just being stoic and saying, well, I'll see him again in a couple months, she, in essence, threw a tantrum. Said, if I can't get what I want, no one will get what they want. It was just a dick move. There's really no justification. She was completely out of line, and she took increasing measures that were just increasingly problematic. And I think my biggest problem with the episode is, this isn't even acknowledged. She doesn't even get a slap on the wrist. I know she couldn't be arrested. It's a kid's show. You can't have one of the main characters be thrown in a prison for several seasons. You just can't do that. But she should have gotten a talking to. She should have been told, you screwed up big time. You don't have any of that. You just have to get over the fact that he's going to hibernate. It's just mind-boggling. And then, of course, you also have with the crying scene, kind of giving a lesson that a good cry is really helpful. And while I actually won't per se disagree with that, I'm sure there were a lot of parents who would have rather not had their 3 to 6 year olds be told that lesson. So at the end of the day, the episode seemed to lack much in the way of humor and was really problematic in certain regards, at least in my book. Now, I'll freely admit it's fully possible that I'm completely misrepresenting the episode and completely misjudging it, but I currently think and suspect I will always think that this episode was not the worst, but in the bottom tier of MLP episodes. This was pretty bad. I hope you found my, rant, my screed, I can't quite say analysis, my opinion entertaining. So thanks for watching and putting up with me, and until next time, stay derpy, my friends.